So for those that don't know the sessions, don't know me, my name is Jens. Welcome to the session. What we do here is we just go over the market in 30 minutes, and just share what the strategy is that we do. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask in the chat. So basically what we see is, of course, we use Sifi, and Sifi is actually an algorithm that will give us arrows. And we have 3 steps to confirm if an arrow is valid for our strategy or not. And we call these the 3 simple steps, or the 3 simple step system. The first step is the dark shade arrow, right? Second step is the 2-day pullback. And the third step is the M or W. The first step is the dark shade arrow is actually the confirmation we get when we get notified. So we get a notification. That's our entry confirmation, right? Now, then the second step is a confirmation of, are we at the right level to buy? When the price is very, very high, you don't want to go and buy. So we want to see a 2-day pullback, meaning if we're looking for buys, the 2-day pullback should be a move that has been going down for the last 2 days. And then the M or W is a reversal pattern that we're looking for, right? Which confirms that this pullback that has been going down now comes to an end, and we can see a reversal towards the upside. Okay, the good thing is Sifi does a lot of the heavy lifting for us. Sifi will color the background depending on the trend on the 4-hour time frame. So we're always trading the trend, and it will give us the arrows. So it will tell us when to look to the chart. Now, let's go over these first 3 steps on this example right here. You can see, do we have step 1, dark shade arrow? Yes. Do we have step 2, a 2-day pullback? And then I'm going to go from the lowest point just before the arrow till the most recent high point, which is 23 hours. Okay. So I want to see this be 2 days, but this is 23 hours. So for me, this is not low enough to buy, if that makes sense. I'm going to take a look at, price going a little further, for example, right here. And that's also what we see, is it continue to the downside to, pull back even deeper. And that's great because we want to buy it deeper, or we want to buy this after 2 days of pullback, not 1 day of pullback. So anyway, step 1, check. Step 2, not really, because we have 23 hours of pullback, not 48 hours. So since that's the case, we don't really need to look at the third step. But of course, for those that see the third step, you see this is the W that we are looking for. But for those that follow the sessions for a while, I like to see a W in this formation, where we see that we have a certain low point, which is the lowest point of those last 2 days. And then we see that we have a higher low. Okay. The reason we want to see it this way is because if price is coming down for 2 days, right, you will probably see the lows going lower, lower, lower. The highs are going lower, lower, lower. So if you only see lower lows and lower highs, that's cool, that's good, because then we see that the price is pulling back. But we want to make sure that we have a confirmation for price to go up again. And that's what we can see when we have that formation of structure. Okay? So in this case, that's not what happened. We just see another low going lower than the previous one, telling us that the market is just going lower, which is fine, but that's not what we want to trade because we are looking to buy. Okay? So to give an example, let's take this one for example. Yeah. For example, right here. I don't know why this setup is so huge. Anyway. What can we see? We had this dark shade arrow over here. So the first step is done. We had this 2-day pullback, meaning if you look at the price, the last 2 days, we have been coming down pretty strong. So we are at the lower point than we were 2 days ago, or in other words, we were pulling back for the last 2 days, meaning this might be an interesting point for us to look for buy opportunities. And then, of course, you see this right here. These lows going from a lower low to a higher low. And that's very, very strong to see in our W pattern. Okay? Because again, over the last 2 days, over the last pullback, and even if you go further, even the way back, but let's say the last significant move, over these last few days, we see price going lower, creating lower lows, lower lows, lower lows, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. Right? So for price to then give us that higher low, and then the arrow is very, very strong. So step one, dark shade arrow. Yes, we got notified. That's why we're even looking at the chart. 2-day pullback. Yes, we do have a 2-day price. 2 days of price movement down. And then M or W. Yes, we have a clear M or W. In this case, it's a W because we're looking to buy. Okay. Then what do we do? Because now we have a confirmation to enter the trade. Very important. You enter once the candle closes. So this arrow candle, it closes, you enter there on the open of the next one. Our stop loss, we're going to put that below the low, the lowest point of the pullback, the lowest point of the day, basically, or the day before. This is where we're going to put our stop loss. A little tip I can give with that is add some extra breathing room. Okay, add some extra breathing room as in, for example, your spread, multiply that by 3 and put it below. Because sometimes it might come close to stop loss. You don't want it to kick out before your trade is invalid. Right? So that's that. And then from there, we are just going to target a 1 to 2 risk to reward. Here we go. Meaning if we risk 2%, we gain 4. If we risk 1%, we gain 2. If we risk 3%, we gain 6. Whatever it may be, I would always say like risk about 1 to 3% on your account or less, but I would say never more. So that's very important, right? So you risk, for example, 2%. That's what we do to make 4. And then, of course, along the way, we have a checkpoint or a first target. This is target 1. This is where we go break even. Okay, meaning our stop loss order is right here. At the moment we hit this target, so that's here at 5 o'clock in the morning, we get notified. And what do we do once I see this? I put my stop loss order and I put it at the price where I entered. If I put this at the price where I entered, now whatever happens, even if the price comes down again, even if that happens, I will be kicked out with zero loss, zero profit. So I am risk free because I have my stop loss, which is an automated order. I have that to go out where I went in. You know, it's like if I buy this pen for $1 and if I sell it again for $1 tomorrow, I didn't make a loss, I didn't make a profit because it's the same price, right? Same thing over here. And then the last thing, and that's the trade management thing, and that's why I like this example, is when we have heavy red folder news event. I'll put this in orange so it pops out a little bit more. But when we have a heavy red folder or high impact news event, we don't want to be in the market. Okay. So we get out the market 1 hour before. So that's 2 candles before. So in this case, we got out right here, giving us a risk to reward of 1.6 instead of 2, meaning our 2% risk is a 3.4% gain instead of a 4% gain. Does that make sense? Put a 1 in the chat. I see a question. If a pair is doing a pullback, like Euro JPY, for example, can we also enter a short to like trade towards your entry? It's probably what you mean. You could, but it's, you never know if the pullback is going to happen. All I know is that if the pullback happens, if we then get an arrow, and if there is a W, I'm going to buy. I'm not saying it's going to pull back for sure, so let's short, right? It's two different things. So you always want to think in probabilities. The probabilities for the market to go down, I don't know. To be honest, you never know. The probabilities for the market to go up after our confirmations, those probabilities are a lot higher than just thinking, oh yeah, this might go down. If you know what I mean. Okay, so I see a lot of ones in the chat, so I hope that's clear. If there's something unclear, put a 2 in the chat. Because, by the way, there are no stupid questions. The only stupid thing you can do is get off this call without asking a question that you were thinking of. Okay, so that's basically what this is. And of course, we have been tracking these trades in a manual track record. And for example, that gold trade we were just looking at, this chart is tracked right here as well. Right? Risk 2%, the realized risk to reward is 1.67, etc., etc. Okay? So those things are things we always journal, things we always keep track of, and to see the performance of Sifi. And with the strategy that I just explained in like 15 minutes, or even less, over the last 100 trades, we only had 14 losses. We've been journaling this for like 6 to 8 months or something. And we do about 1 to 3 to sometimes 5 trades a week. 5 trades a week was mainly October, November. Then we had very busy weeks and very profitable weeks. But by now we have like 1 to 3 trades a week. And you can also see that this is what we did in the last month. We did 9 trades in the last month, giving us 22% last month. But you can also see that in the calendar view if you go back. Last week 2, the week before we had 2, week before that, etc., etc. So you can also click all info, of course, and then you see all the trades we took. Can even load a bit more. And of course, they all come with pictures. I see it's taking a while to load, but they all come with like very clear pictures, etc. So this is basically what sci-fi has been doing for us and the statistics that come with it and the strategy. Okay. So pretty simple. You have 3 steps to enter and you have a few ways to exit. The exits you can have, and that's actually all you need to know in the market is when to enter, when to exit. And not while you're in a trade. You want to have a trading plan that makes you that gives you a blueprint of when to enter and when to exit before you're even opening up your laptop, before you're even opening up your trading account, before you even log into sci-fi. You want to have a blueprint and what we call, a trading plan or objective trading system, right? Which gives you instructions on what to do. And the instructions for me in sci-fi are very, very clear. I go in when there is no news and when we have the 3 steps. So those are 4 things I need to go in. If one of the 4 is not correct, I'm not going in. And we have 4 ways to get out. We can be hit with a stop loss, which is just automatic, like out minus 2%. Fine. We can go to target 1 and then get hit with a break even. That's the second option. Also fine. We can go to target 2, make 4% profit. That's the third possibility. Or it can happen that we have to pull it out because news is coming. Right? So I have 4 things that I need before I enter, and then there is 4 possibilities that can kick me out. Stop loss, break even, take profit, or news. And if you look at it this way, it's pretty simple. It's not easy, not easy at all, but it's pretty simple. It's like no rocket science, right? I like to compare this with like top sports or anything else like that. For example, bodybuilding, it's not that difficult. It's pretty simple, but it's not easy to be there every single day. Eating rice, chicken, and broccoli and working out every single day. You don't need to be like a crazy rocket science guy, right? There's no complexity or like crazy stuff in there. It's just the simple stuff and doing it over and over and over and over again. And in trading, it's basically the same, especially with a simple strategy like this. It's just doing that simple stuff and repeating it over and over again, right? And that's really what we do. So I'm just clicking some random stuff. Oh, yeah, here. Sometimes you have multiple arrows as well. Then people get multiple entries. But for beginners, I would never say to do that. But this was a good trade as well. You can check it out in the track record, by the way. But it was a more of a complex trade, so let's not go over that. Same, for example, here we have some arrows, right? The first one is dark shade arrow. Yes. Do we have a 2-day pullback? No, we have a pullback of 1 day and 15 hours. So I'm not even looking at this arrow. On to the next. I get notified. Cool. Do we have a 2-day pullback? Yes, we do. Do we have an M pattern, the pattern we are looking for? Yes, we do. We have an entry. Amazing. Price goes into profit. That's great. But then we have the news, so we pulled it out. And it's a good thing that we do because after the news, price just goes to break even and then continues to go to stop loss. Even if you didn't pull it out, you didn't make a loss because you hit break even. But still, right? And these are the examples you're going to see a lot Same here. Oh, this was not a 2-day pullback. So at some point you start to see it immediately. So we have the arrow, yes. Do we have a 2-day pullback? No. You can take a ruler to measure this. This is 23 hours, right? Do we have the M? Yes. That's why some people still took it. And then 1 hour before the news, we got out. Cool. Okay, but this is not in the track record. This is just a markup that I saved. I'm just randomly clicking markups to show you guys like different examples. I think this was a loss. The Euro USD trade. Oh no, it was not. Anyway. So again, same thing. And you start to see the same thing over and over and over again, right? Oh, another tip, by the way, we want to have our stop loss smaller than like 30 pips or like around 30 pips or smaller. You don't want to have a stop loss of like 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 pips. That doesn't make sense because we are targeting a 1 to 2. So if you have a stop loss that is like 30 pips and you target the 1 to 2, your target is 60 pips, right? But if your stop loss is 50 pips and you target a 1 to 2, now your target is 100 pips. And you're actually saying that from the lowest point, you are expecting a 150 pip move, right? Because your first half, this is the lowest point. You first have the stop loss. And then, so that move already happened by the time you enter. So then you enter, and then you expect on that same day for another move that's double, right? So very, very important, just a detail. So what do we see? We have this arrow right here. Let's take a look. First of all, this is the last significant high. This is the last significant low. So this is the pullback we are looking at. If I grab a ruler, here we go, 1 day and 13 hours. So I'm not looking at that. Not really interested. For this arrow, the exact same thing, right? That's the lowest point. It's 1 day and 13 hours. I'm not really interested. Then the next arrow is the arrow we get here, right? Now we see price has pulled back even further, which is good. So do we have a 2-day pullback? We have 2 days and 11 hours. Do we have the dark shade arrow? Yes, of course. So dark shade arrow, 2-day pullback. And then do we have the W? We have the lowest point, or we have a higher low, right? And then from there, we had plenty of opportunity to enter. I know that we entered not at 2:30 in the morning. We entered during the session. So that's why I drew this little box. We entered during the session because I was sleeping at 2:30 in the morning, but during the session was like 7:30. That was even a better entry, to be honest. But anyway, so what can we see? Is we can see that we have this arrow. It goes in a little profit, not too far, but then we pull back. We haven't hit target 1 yet. So since we haven't hit target 1, we can still enter. If you hit target 1, like let's say price goes up, and you hit like target 1 or even more, and then it comes back down, I'm not still going to enter because if I was in, I would go out now at break even, if you know what I mean. So that's this. We enter, stop loss below the low, 1 to 2 risk to reward, and that's it. And even if you didn't take the better entry, even if you had the initial entry, your take profit would be here. And this red folder news event would kick you out. So you would be out right here, which is still a great profit, right? Of course, we got in a lot lower. So we hit our target without the news even being there. We hit our target very fast. Let me see. Yes, this was a setup. So we hit our target in like 5 candles, so in 2 hours and a half, which is great. Okay. Does this give a clear idea of the strategy with like going over some of the examples? Where can you find a trade plan template? I would say connect with your personal coach and mentor to see what system you guys use and see what trading plan you guys use. I know you can find a lot of great things and you can build your own as well. Can be inspired by what we have here. Um, Everything that I fill in is this is custom made. So the things I fill in is things I find important, like what's the date, what's the direction, what's the time frame. Those are things that I find important. Maybe some people don't. I want to see a picture. I want to know my risk. I want to know my risk to reward. I want to know my percentage gain. I want to know my balance before and after, my realized profit or loss, my emotional journal, what happened, some extra pictures, those are the things that I want to know. I have a before pic, the during, it's like a during picture, and then the after. Those are things I want to know that. So that's why I put it in a journal. Now, maybe for you, all these pictures and all these percentages, and maybe it's all not that necessary. So you can have a more simplistic journal. Or maybe you want to do way more. You want to like track a lot of crazy stuff. The good thing is once you track your trades, you start to see patterns in your own behavior. And then you will see that most likely those patterns are robbing you from some profits or you're leaving profit on the table. So you can start to maximize your ability as a trader by reflecting on what you see and what you did. I had a guy, he was journaling and he saw after like 5 weeks, he said, every Thursday I'm going to school. And every Thursday in school, during the lessons and in the break, and I'm trading on the phone, but my teacher can't see that I'm trading, so it's like very fast. And I always make a little mistake and I lose money. But he only realized that after 5 Thursdays because he kept journaling. Like, oh yeah, little mistake, 1% profit that I should have made. I didn't because I was at school. Next week, he already forgot about last week, but since he put it in a journal and wrote it down, now next week, oh yeah, I made a 2% loss, which should have been a break even because I was at school and I was not focused, right? So journaling really reflects very good, and you can start to see clear patterns. Oh yeah, Anika, that's true. So a trading plan, when you're making a trading plan, by the way, I once I made a comparison of like your trading plan is your lifeboat, and there should be no holes in it. It should be like airtight in a way of like if a 5 year old is like being a little annoying and asking like, yeah, but why is this and what is that and why is this and what is that? That's how you want to check your trading log, your trading plan. Okay, so before you enter the market, before you open your laptop, your trading plan should be so crystal clear that if I come around and I say, yeah, but what if this happens? And what if this happens? And what if this happens? You should always have an answer ready. And if not, your trading plan is not complete. Right. And it can happen. Sometimes some crazy scenarios. What if an arrow happens during the spread hour? I was like, never thought of that before. I don't know. And we just traded it, made money. Fine. So those are things you want to think of. And that's also why I have my 4 steps to get in and 4 ways to go out. right? You have the three steps: dark shade arrow, today pullback, M or W, and then the news. I don't want any red folder news on the currencies that I'm trading. So now I know, okay, when do I get in? Only when these four components are aligning. And when do I get out? Either my stop loss, my take profit, my break even, or the news. Nothing less, nothing more. Yeah, but it's Christmas time and blah, blah, whatever. Yeah, but Trump said this, or yeah, but this is happening. Okay, if Trump is speaking, it's probably a news event. Cool, that's red folder news. I'm out. Yeah, but he's speaking about the this and the that, and the market's probably gonna go up. I don't care. I'm not a news trader. If you want to be a news trader, then go do another strategy. That it's also possible, can be profitable. Fine. That's not what we do, right? So anyway, that being said, I think there are no more questions. I see you need to consider ADR. Yeah, ADR is something that we can use, but it's more advanced of like when you feel like you can do more plays because you really get to know the markets. That's where you start to create your own style, right? Because of course the trading plan and really following that as a robot, this will pick out the best plays, but it will be less. And some people want to do more plays, they want to learn more, they want to go into more advanced waters of trading, right? They want to try the 1 day pullbacks and they want to do this and that. And then we have some tips, like for example ADR, that you can use. But I'm not gonna go too deep into that because that's gonna be confusing, I believe. We might be able to do that in another session for sure. Okay. So that being said, we're already 5 minutes over time. I hope this was a valuable session. If it was, then let me know in the chats, or bring some energy to the chat so a lot of people can plug in here, because we're gonna keep doing these sessions over the next few weeks, for sure. And I'm super excited for what's to come. I'm super happy and grateful that you guys are here, and let's keep crushing the markets with sci-fi and every other strategy on this amazing platform in this amazing community. Thank you guys for being here, and I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Let's get it.